Mike Waltz is the national security advisor. He creates the briefings and the plans and all of the memos for the president on national security. So anything concerning war, terrorism, proliferation of WMD, he creates that briefing. He informs the president. Trump appointed Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz was fired 3 months after he got the job because he was texting Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, on an encrypted Israeli messaging app. And they believed that he was actually working on behalf of Netanyahu to push the United States into a war with Iran. So when you have that kind of corruption at the highest levels of the most important organs of the government, the national security state, you have to start from scratch. You don't know who's working for who. You have to fire everybody and then rebuild all of it with loyal Americans, people that it's unambiguous are working for the United States of America.
Senators Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell denounce you. Vice President J.D. Vance says that you're a total loser, disavows you, and you're not part of the MAGA movement. Do you think they're embarrassed by you, or do you think they're afraid of you?
They are afraid of what I represent, which is what has happened with MAGA. It started out as a revolutionary movement. What was the message of MAGA? It was America first, Americanism, not globalism. And deeper than that, Trump said, when I get elected in 2016, he said, we are going to throw out all the super PACs, all the lobbyists, all the global banks, the global special interests. People forget how radical that first campaign was. And then immediately, once Trump won the election, all the interests came in. The Republican Party filled the White House with their personnel. The special interests like Sheldon Adelson, like Ken Griffin from Citadel on Wall Street, all the interests poured in, and they gradually and slowly captured Trump, Mar-a-Lago, MAGA, and they made the Trump movement serve the GOP and their special interests, such that by 2020, Trump was unrecognizable. At 16, he said, we're going to end foreign wars. We're going to build a wall. We're going to end free trade. In 2020, he was bragging about moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem, lowest black unemployment in history, cut the corporate tax rate by over 10%. It was a completely different campaign. And what I represent, I not only represent the young people, but I represent the actual promise of the original Trump revolution. Realizing America first, Americanism, not globalism. And so you have people like Ted Cruz or J.D. Vance. They see MAGA as effectively a form of a Trojan horse. It looks like and is dressed up like something new, something different, something unconventional that actually challenges power. In reality, now that Trump has been elected the second time, it's a true Trojan horse. What awaits inside the Trump movement is lobbyists. Inside of it is the corporate interest. That's why Trump gets elected. He buries the Epstein files. He bombs Iran. He extends the corporate tax cuts.
Exactly, and this is the reason why they fear Nick Fuentes, because Nick is exposing these people who act like they're America first, but meanwhile they're loyal to their biggest donors. They are loyal to maybe foreign countries, and this is the reason why so many people support Nick Fuentes, because he is actually talking or he's speaking facts, or many people believe that he is speaking facts, and I can understand why. So many people in this country, they feel like silenced, they feel betrayed by our own government. They voted for America first policy, but we almost got the opposite. And then you have a guy like Nick Fuentes who is talking about these things, who is talking about the actual problems we have. And then people are surprised that so many people like Nick Fuentes, that so many people support Nick. No, he is actually the voice of the silenced people. So many people, they feel like no one is listening to them. And then Nick is actually listening to these people. And he's talking about the things where many people don't talk about, but where many people agree with. So this is very important. This is the reason why Nick is getting so popular these days. And this is also the reason why you probably like to watch Nick. Because actually, he is not cosplaying like America First, like a J.D. Vance. Like, who is J.D. Vance even to say this about Nick? Nick is more America First than J.D. Vance, this plant himself. Same goes for Donald Trumpstein. But again, Nick Fuentes is actually America first. I believe this man is very good for our country, but again, this is my opinion, and I feel like Nick should run for president one day. I know he's still too young now, but if this guy becomes our president, I believe we will actually have America first policy instead of this fake Trumpstein America first policy. But again, my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong.
if somebody like myself is able to have a platform, then we will expose how MAGA has been corrupted. And then potentially in 2028, we might get another crack at actually having a populist takeover of the GOP. They would be happy if people would pretend that Trump of 2024 is the same as Trump of 2016, so that it's going to protect their grift. That's why they don't like me.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Nick, I did some deep research on you because I kind of had the same suspicion that Tucker says he has about maybe you being a Fed. But I asked pretty much the only person I would trust about this answer, and he said he'd had some conversations with you. I can't dox him, but it's a very wealthy fellow. And he basically implied to me that you can't be bought and you can't be blackmailed in the same way that maybe someone like Trump could be, which is a reason that I think your message is considered so dangerous, is because they know they can't really get to you. But as far as Trump, like, what do you think was the moment that he became compromised? Or do you think he ever truly wanted like a genuine MAGA?
I think that Trump is not an ideological force. And if you pay very close attention to the things that he says, it's very clear that his skill set is in marketing and campaigning. He knows how to play to an audience. He knows how to give people what they want. And I think what happened in 2016 is that he identified that there was a need that had to be filled, which is to say that the Republican base was very clear about what they wanted. They were mad about the cultural transformation of the country. That's why they really didn't like Obama. So Trump came out with a message that said, we're going to make America great again. We're going to say Merry Christmas again. We're going to take all the illegals and get them out. And we're going to blame China for taking our jobs. He knew the message that people wanted to hear. He effectively pandered and is a true demagogue in that sense. And then once he got elected, I'll never forget there was something very specific he said in 2017. He did one of his first rallies after winning the presidency, and his audience started chanting, "Lock her up," about Hillary Clinton. And Trump, responding to the chant, said, well, that's something that plays good before the election, he said. And in that, he gave away the whole game, which is, did he really want Hillary Clinton to face justice? No, there was never any intention to put Hillary Clinton in jail. He knew that saying that would help him win, saying that would endear him to the voters. Once he was elected, he realized that's not going to be politically acceptable. That will not be tolerated by the system. And so he wasn't going to stand on business and actually fight for accountability, no matter what it cost him, politically speaking. He said, well, if that's inconvenient, then I just won't do it. And so he sort of gave away the game. I think that from the beginning, it was always about him becoming president. And that's why his politics have changed so much, so wildly over the years, whether it was the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. You get a different Trump in every decade.
And this is why people are so, like, they regret voting for Donald Trump. They're so disappointed in Donald Trump because I actually agree with the fact that he is always speaking the things what many people want to hear. For example, he was talking about he would release the Epstein files, or excuse me, even he denied first that there were Epstein files, but that's another discussion. He was talking about we're gonna build a wall. He was talking about mass deportations. We're gonna lower the cost. We're gonna make everything more expensive or more cheaper for the average American. Everything is more expensive now. We still don't have a wall. We still don't have mass deportations. We still have mass immigration at this point. So he actually promised so many things and he didn't deliver this. And I said this multiple times in my previous videos as well. And then you have some people who hate on me that I'm a Trump hater. But I said this also. I really like Donald Trump, but I feel like he just betrayed us. He betrayed like many of the people who voted for him because he is not actually America first. And there's nothing wrong with saying this. I mean, like, it's such a shame that he is not America first. Meanwhile, his slogan was "Make America Great Again" / America First. So he did this for himself. Like, he betrayed us. And because of this, many people, they just are disappointed in him. And that's okay. I feel like I still hope the Republicans will win. But you shouldn't be surprised if the midterms, if we're going to lose this big time because the Democrats are going to win. Because the Republicans, they just didn't deliver. They just didn't deliver. And it's such a shame. And I agree with Nick on this, but I also have to give a little side note. You cannot only blame Trump. I also have to give this. You cannot only blame Trump, because I don't know who his biggest donors are. Maybe he should listen to them, or he has to listen to them as well. Maybe he has some other people in his party who are like controlling him a little bit. So again, I criticize Trump, but you cannot blame him 100%. But I hope you get the point.
So I think at the end of the day, it was always about him.
So you would assume that they kind of already had control over him, already had blackmail on him, and he kind of knew that?
I don't
Because I'm not sure what's in the Epstein files. I haven't looked at it too closely. My editor was telling me something about Donald Trump and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of tell me about that, and if you think that Trump is like guilty of that kind of thing, maybe.
With Epstein, I'm skeptical that Trump actually did anything wrong. At least I was very skeptical because by they, I mean the Democrats have been showing the videos and pictures of Trump and Epstein for over a decade. And I really thought that if there was anything there, we would have seen it by now. And there's some truth to this argument that they did everything to stop him in 2016 and 2020 and 24. If there was anything really damning in the files, wouldn't we see it by now?
Yeah, it's like, well, why is this happening now? That's my question. Yeah.
They charged him in New York, in Georgia, 2 federal indictments. If he did anything criminal, they would have brought it to light. That being said, Trump does not want the Epstein files to get out, and he's now involved in an active cover-up because he came out with his Department of Justice in July and said there are no Epstein files. They don't exist. There's no emails, no letters, no personal effects. There's nothing left, he said, other than the actual child material, which would show indecent images or photos or videos of the underage girls being used. Well, we now know that was a lie. Because, of course, now Congress has compelled the DOJ to release the things they have. And we've seen that there's tens of thousands of emails that are already out there. There'll be tens of thousands of more documents. So now it begs the question, why did Trump lie? Why did the DOJ lie and say there were no files?
This is a very good question, right? Why would you lie about something if you are sure that you're not in these files? And this is what makes it so suspicious. And I actually believe maybe Trump is in these files, because otherwise he would release them, right, on the first day. If he had nothing to do with it, if he was not in these files, why would he not release them on day one? It's actually kind of suspicious, right, that you're trying to withhold something, that you don't want to release these files if you are not in there. So by asking this question, you have already your answer. I believe, and again, this is my opinion, that Trump is in these files. I don't know in what way. I hope not in the same way as Jeffrey Epstein was in these files, because that would be horrible and that would like shock the whole nation, the whole country. But I actually believe he has something to do with these files. Otherwise he would release them. He would not lie about this. It makes it all so suspicious, right? Why would you lie about something if you have nothing to hide? That's just a question I have. And again, Donald Trump, he is like maybe one of, or there could also be that there's intelligence about very powerful friends of him, maybe a powerful people from another country, from our allies, could also be true. But it's so weird that he is like trying to like do everything for not to these files to be released. This is actually so weird that he's trying to cover this up. That makes it so suspicious, excuse me. And this is also the reason why people start to lose trust in Donald Trump, because he's doing these shady things where many people are like, dude, why are you doing this? You promised us that you would release these files, or first you said there were no files at all, and then you said you would release them, and now you're trying to cover this up. Kind of weird, right?
When they knew that the files existed, it would seem to suggest that Trump is in the files. He knows he's in the files, and he's worried about what is in them. Here's another question. If what was in the files about Trump was innocuous, why would he be fighting so hard to keep it suppressed? It might be embarrassing. It might be politically harmful to him. At this point, it's more politically harmful to cover it up. They had to shut down Congress a month early to keep that from coming out. So the question now is, if there is nothing bad in the files about you, because we know you're in them and we know you lied about that, why are you fighting so hard to prevent it from coming out? We almost have to draw a negative inference that there's something in there that he doesn't want to get out because it might be criminal or outrageous or deeply offensive to our conscience. And I would say all you have to do is look at the timeline to consider who might be holding the cards there. Elon Musk, in I think it was June or May, went to the Oval Office for the last time, and it didn't go well. He left the meeting, went on Twitter and said Trump will not release the Epstein files because he knows he's in them. 1 week later, Israel attacked Iran. This is the war they've wanted for 20 years. Realistically, they've wanted it for 45 years. And every president, from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden, didn't give it to them. Israel bombed Iran. A week later, Trump bombed Iran. The United States is effectively now in a state of war with Iran. This is what they wanted for half of a century. After the war ends, Netanyahu visits the White House to celebrate that Israel and the United States destroyed Fordo, Iran's nuclear complex. It was the day before that visit that the DOJ produced a memo saying the Epstein files would never be released because they don't exist. So it's bookended from when the Epstein files are brought up as a threat against Trump to when they're buried by the DOJ with the war in Iran. And given that Epstein was potentially Israeli intelligence, I think all signs point to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem controlling those files.
Back to the podcast. Nick, I do want to ask, during deplatforming, you mentioned anxiety and insomnia. Is that something you experienced?
Yes, absolutely.
What did rock bottom of that look like?
Well, it wasn't dramatic. I'm not a very emotional person, but for me, rock bottom was this. I go to the Capitol on January 6th, and I really had a great career. I had already been canceled twice. First by Daily Wire, then by Turning Point USA. At that point, I'd been banned on YouTube and PayPal. So I was thoroughly canceled at this point. In spite of that, I had almost 100,000 subs on DLive, which was PewDiePie's live streaming platform. I was getting over 10,000 live viewers a night. I was making pretty good money. I was making about $50,000 a month as a completely canceled person.
Bro, 50K a month, that's actually insane. And now he probably makes 10 times more. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick actually makes 1 million a month now, maybe even more. Like seriously, he is getting so popular now, he probably makes more than that. And this is actually good. He deserves this for like speaking the truth, in my opinion. And again, what I really like, why does he has like this Monster? Do you think that this interview is maybe sponsored by Monster? Because look how they put the can with like the label in front of the camera. It's also kind of, I wouldn't be surprised if Monster pays a lot of money for this interview as well. But making 50K a month, can you imagine, just for like doing this work? I mean, like I feel like it's still not enough because Nick got like, he get death threats. He almost got like killed one time. He get people who go to his house to try to hurt him. So I don't believe it's actually enough money. But again, it's very good to hear that he literally makes so much money for doing this.
I had a live audience, subscriptions, a good income. I had a big following on Twitter. The week after January 6th, I got banned from DLive. I got banned from my bank that I was at, Bank of America. My checking account was shut down. My money was frozen. All my cash was frozen by the DOJ. I was put on a federal no-fly list. I was banned by my payment processors. I was banned by DLive. So I went from having a career in spite of being canceled, fighting so hard to emerge from that kind of culture, only to, because of J6, 2 weeks later, not even having a website to stream from, having no income, being broke, having no cash. And then, because I was effectively then a loser, because I was so thoroughly deplatformed, many of my friends began to turn on me. And all the other people that were there on January 6th, they feared that maybe they would be a subject of an investigation, maybe they would be deplatformed. So probably 80% of my inner circle completely abandoned me. And so rock bottom looks like that. Broke, no income, no platform, truly banned from everything, betrayed by 8 out of 10 of my friends.
Was there a specific person that kind of cut you off that hurt more than the others?
if I was Nick, I would not even care about these people who left me behind, who betrayed me for my opinion. Like, maybe it's even better at this point that they left. Like, let them go. They are not even your real friends. But again, what Nick just said here, this is a very important point. Do you know how much Nick gave up for the life he has now? And yeah, people will probably say, but now he is famous. He got a lot of followers. Yeah, this is true. But don't get me wrong. Nick is doing this for almost 10 years, right? It's not that he started this movement 2 years ago. No. He did this for like 10 years almost. So can you imagine? He got like blacklisted, he got deplatformed, he got debanked, he almost got like banned on almost everything, his banks, social media. This is actually insane just for having an opinion. And then people are now suddenly surprised why so many people like Nick Fuentes, why so many people support him, because he gave his whole life almost for you and me, for this country, because he wants this country to succeed. This is the reason why Nick is so based, why I actually believe that Nick is different than all these other people, because look what he gave up. He suffered so much for having this same opinion for 10 years. And again, he didn't say this last night, or he didn't say this yesterday. No, he has the same opinion for the last 10 years. So he's actually based. Even when he was not famous, he was having the same opinion as he has today. So Nick, shout out to you. And seriously, I hope now he finally gets the fame and the money what he deserves. But still, don't think that, or I think that Nick doesn't have like a very happy life. He is not very safe. He should watch around his shoulder all the time. He should be very careful, because the things what he is saying, there was actually people who went to his house to try to assassinate him. Can you imagine living a life like this, for having a public opinion that people literally try to hurt you, that people try to assassinate you? This is crazy, right? In the United States, this should not happen. But again, very good to see that Nick is finally getting the fame what he deserved, and I really think that this is good, because he worked for this for so long, and now finally he gets it what he actually deserved.
No, at that point, I was pretty desensitized.
Right.
So no, not in particular.
Nick, you've discussed an uncanny feeling about modern society. Why do you think everything feels off?
Well, I think that everything feels off because we're not living the way that probably most of our ancestors lived. And I'm not a big trad guy, or like, so much of what you see on the internet now is this idea, something went wrong with modernity, we need to return. And so some people say we need a primal diet, we need an ancestral diet. Some people say we need to return to the wilderness and get more in nature, be more environmental or something like that. I think it's social. I think it's all social, which is to say that we're maybe the first generation that is completely atheistic. There's no religion. I think that's maybe unique in the history of mankind, because even primitive humanity had animism, believed that gods were in the animals and in objects, or you had pagan barbarians that had their pantheon of gods, and then you had Christians and Muslims. And so we've always been believers. We've always built idols or statues or shrines. This is the first generation that has no connection to the divine, the supernatural. There's no sense that there's anything beyond this plane of existence, beyond death even, waiting for us. That's one. Two is that we have no social fabric either. You look at the families, and when we think of what is traditional, we think of the nuclear family. And even that is not very traditional. 2 parents and their kids. What about grandparents? What about uncles and cousins and big families? Now, if you're lucky, you have 2 parents and maybe 1 sibling. That's your family. What's your community? A lot of people don't even know their neighbors. They don't know their next door neighbors. They don't have a ton in common with the people in their community. And so their social life might begin and end in like high school. You're raised by your parents, you go to school, you finish school, then you move into an apartment as a single man or woman, and you go to work. That's your life. This is a completely atomized existence. So we're not connected to the eternal, the transcendent, God. We're also not connected to each other in any meaningful way. People older than us, younger than us. We don't have big families. We don't have large communities or real society where people are rising and falling in connection with each other. And so I think that what really defines the modern age is how alone we all are as individuals. And maybe this is a product of liberalism. Maybe this is a product of the Enlightenment, the Reformation, but we are truly disconnected from maybe our biology, from our souls, and we're disconnected from our families and everybody that coexists with us in time. And I think that's made life very lonely and then therefore very dysfunctional for a lot of people.
Yes, and surprise, surprise, I completely agree with Nick on this as well. Because what is a country without a society? Like, seriously, I feel like now we're at this point in our country where we are the most divided ever. Like, people that, like, again, they don't even greet their neighbors anymore. Like even on the left and on the right. But I don't even care about left and the right. I think this is complete nonsense. We're all the same people and we just want this country to succeed. But that's another discussion. But people are so divided in this country at this point. Like, people, they barely recognize, like, themselves anymore. Like, if you just compare, like, the people who live now in this country, compare them with like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it looked like we are even different creatures. We're different humans than the people who lived in this country not so long ago. Why? I don't know. But again, it's very good that Nick like talks about these things, because so many people, they just need to like return maybe to God. They need to return to just to start like having a family, having a connection with their family. And instead of like being so alone and being like so divided, separated, it's good that we can maybe build a community again, be more together. And then maybe this is the solution to make this country to succeed again, because I feel like at this point we're so divided and this is not good. It doesn't make our country stronger or better. But again, this is my opinion. I'm very curious about your opinion. Like, do you agree with Nick on this? Do you disagree on Nick? Do you actually believe that, for example, JD Vance is afraid of Nick Fuentes, of his following, of the power he has now? Please share it in the opinion, or please share it in the comments, excuse me. I'm very curious about your opinion, and I'm always read all comments. That's very important to say, so please share your opinion in the comments. We almost reached 40,000 subscribers. I cannot believe this. Thank you guys for this. And again, the only thing I can ask, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really like this video, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And oh my God, 40k subscribers. It's crazy. Thank you guys, you're the best, and seriously, America first, Americans first, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!